Sir has joined.
Okay, ma'am.
Just a moment. Sir, namaskar, sir. Nimit, sir.
Namaste, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you for accepting the invitation, sir. We are very glad to have you for today's session.
मैं कहा तो आना ही था.
Ma'am, can I start introduction?
Yeah, please start.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manoj Palve, roll number 17. I am an assistant professor at Indraraj College, Sillod. Now, I am going to read the biodata of the resource persons for the today's sessions. First of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Madhuri Sawant, ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to introduce the today's resource person. It's my privilege to honor to introduce our esteemed resource person for the today's session, Dr. Nimit Chaudhary sir. Dr. Nimit Chaudhary sir is a distinguished academic and highly respected name in the field of tourism and management. He is an engineer by training, holds an MBA and earned his PhD in the management. Presently, he serves as a professor of tourism at the Faculty of Management Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, a central university in New Delhi. With over 31 years of academic experience, he has been a full professor for more than 18 years, a rarer distinction in itself. His teaching journey has spanned across several prestigious institutions, including the Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management across the Gwalior, Noida, and Nellore campus, Mizoram University, Jivaji University, Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati University, and even internationally at the Tecnológico de Monterrey in the Mexico and Shaozheng University in China. He has also been a visiting academic in Sweden, Spain, and Slovenia. Dr. Chaudhary sir received numerous awards and accolades in the India and abroad. Recognizing his academic contribution, he is a recipient of various prestigious awards such as AICTE Career Awards for Young Teachers, SIDA Fellowship Sweden, Guest Lectureship Sweden, uh, Linnaeus Palme Exchange Program Grants Sweden, PIMG Research Excellence Awards Gwalior, Scholar Grant EMTM, Erasmus Mundus Europe, among others. He was chosen for the prestigious uh, LEAF program at Oxford University. Most recently, he has been honored with the TV Singh Awards for the excellence by an Asian Tourism Research Network and named Element Engineers by the Institution of Engineers. Dr. Chaudhary sir is also an accomplished scholar with the extraordinary academic output. He has supervised 23 PhD scholars, authorized 23 books, and edited 7 volumes, and contributed over 350 research papers, book chapters, and popular articles. His work reflects both depth and diversity, and its contribute to shape academic through and the policy in the tourism and management. Beyond the academia, Dr. Chaudhary sir is also a passionate traveler. He has visited around the 40 countries, bringing a truly global perspective to his teaching and research. We are truly honored to have Dr. Nimit Chaudhary sir with us today. I extend a warm and respectful welcome to him and kindly invite him to share his valuable knowledge with us.
Should I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You for that very elaborate introduction. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to thank Adhuri and her team of UGC and MDC, firstly, for actually giving me this opportunity to be able to talk to young minds that are here for the course, for the refresher course. And since we've been talking a lot about national education policy and IKS things, so it's a very pertinent, relevant theme to talk about. And as a teacher, like most of you, I mean, we also get confused at times about how to go about implementing. I'm still to meet a person from academia in India, from any university, who says that we have like mastered this national education policy implementation. Pardon? Who says
Sir,
that we
please go ahead, sir. There was a disturbance here.
who says that we have mastered the implementation of national education policy, which is simply saying that we all are still struggling, we are all still experimenting with the national education policy and its interventions in system, how to introduce Indian knowledge system. Different universities around the country have taken different paths, different approaches to implementing and including the Indian knowledge education, its curriculum, into its delivery. So we are all still experimenting. So talking to young minds like you is actually a learning opportunity for us also. And so this proposal came through and almost readily I accepted. I said, let me talk to some of these relatively younger teachers so that we also stand benefited. So I have a structured presentation for you. I'll use that presentation and just allow me to share my slides. Is my PPT now visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Visible.
sir.
On the presentation mode?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are the slides moving also?
Yes,
Very
sir.
much, sir. They are moving.
Okay, good, good, good. Because that's the first hurdle that we come across when we are talking online. Sometimes the slides are behaving nastier. Anyway, so we are all set. And I was really intrigued by the theme that has been chosen for this refresher course. IKS is skill-based in curriculum development, something like that, right? So we'll talk about it, but just the what you say. I thought I'll make use of the opportunity talking to young minds. So let us begin. Spend say 3-4 minutes only on a small quiz, and I'm watching your responses on chat also. So what happens is on the next slide is that you have 3 people, right? Ramesh, Priya, and Ayan. They make some statements. Who do you identify with? So just write the name in the chat box. Meet in the chat that who you do you out of these 3 people, Who do you identify with? Just wanted to have an idea. Want me to read this? You can read it, right?
Sir Ramesh.
So just write on your chat box. You have a chat option there. So, yes, the first one is Ramesh. Ramesh. Hmm. I'm told there are around 34, 35 people in the group. Just a few more. Okay. It's kind of experimental research for me also, and I'll share with you the results. So I have all Ramesh's coming up. Okay, no issue. So that we don't take more time, I'm just changing the slides, and again you have a few statements here, and do let me know. So one all Ramesh, one Priya now. Madhuri says Priya. Okay. Okay. So here we are. Another set of statements. Another set of statements. Subhash, Sushmita, and Krish. Now we have Krish, two Krish. Full of Krishes we have from Subhash, one Sushmita. Anyone else who would like to respond? Any more responses? Okay.
Participants, you can please
Go to
respond.
the respond if you wish, or I'll change the slide. We have another set of statements, right? Just 3 slides, so we'll be on the last slide. Okay. Here is the last slide. In this case, we have Arvind, Rekha, and Kiara. Just read and give your response. Kiara, Arvind. Kiara's will. Anyone else? Any more responses? Anyone? Okay. So let me get back to this. There are no results as such about this, but the underlying idea was, and quite interestingly, because I get this opportunity to, address different groups of people, and I often come up with the same 3 slides for their responses. And say, for example, last week I was addressing students in one of the colleges here in Delhi, and these were all undergraduate students, and almost 99% of them, what agreed with the third column, which is Kiara, Krish, Ayan column. So 99% of them agreed with, identified with the last column, not agreed, identified with the last column. When I talk to, professionals, people from industry, and because I know all of us are teachers, and we have this placement issues, and we get these feedbacks from our, industry about our students. And there's always a gap where industry says that your students are not ready for the industry. And at times, these days, probably some of you would agree with me, that our students also complain that the work environment, or the work culture in the industry is not okay, is not good. So we talk to these employers and industry guys, and you know what? The interesting thing is that most of them identify with column 1, which is Ramesh, Arvind, Subhash column, and the second column. Today, we have a mixed group, and one of the reasons this is also not a different result, because when you are talking to teachers who deal with these young boys and girls on a day-to-day basis, they are differently placed, at least psychologically, to understand, appreciate, relate with what our students do. And so the kind of response that we have today is precisely the kind of response that I was expecting with a group of teachers. So we have some responses in column 1 and column 2, but we understand and we appreciate column 3 also. Now, what is this whole puzzle of the 3 columns? So I'll just take, less than 2 minutes to explain this to you. Actually, these are 3 different kind of eras in academics, as we call them. The era of modernism, which, almost began at the turn of the last century, which was almost 1900 to the time India became independent. Look at the examples in the last column. It's about Bhagat Singh. It's like what a younger Nehru would think about, idealistic, nation-driven guys, aspiring for freedom, equality, and very importantly, people who were like huge Mr. RK. Okay, so people who are Some of you have to turn off your mic. So these were the people who are, very impressed by science and its objectivities, and they believed that science could achieve is the best way to achieve their aspired goals, which is, living in a very, very objective world. So world is objective. There is only one truth. Science is the way towards it. And, being scientific, being logical is the way moving forward. And this is the era, or this is the time that we refer to as modernism. From 1960s to 1990s is the era that is called postmodernism, which is, marked by, people of my generation who would somewhat rebellious. We said, no, there's not one truth, there are many truths. There's no one right way, there are multiple right ways. And we need to have a world where we must accommodate all these views. So that's the kind of generation we were. We challenged the status quo, we questioned the norms, and we said that, again, connecting with India, we said now that the country is free, we need to take this country forward, and we need to, be good with all aspects of our life, different dimensions of our existence, be it artist or journalist, filmmaker, NGO, worker, industry, everything. So everyone has a different perspective, their truths are different, and we need to accommodate all those truths. So we were the people with doubt. We were a generation of doubters. We doubted everything. The generation before us was the generation of optimists. Some of you who can read Hindi, at the top of the screen is the first generation was Asha, followed by Shanka. And then, since 2000, we have the meta-modernism, which is the postmodernism age, where we said, look, we need to be skeptical, but we need to be optimist as well. And this generation is actually trying to strike a balance between the first two generations. So it's not a absolute different, absolute shift from the first two positions, but the current generation is actually trying to strike a balance. These guys are emotionally conscious. They want a balanced growth, and they want their life to be purposeful. Life is not a machine. My truth is not your truth, so I'm not doing something different from you. Actually, I want to do both the things. I want to do all the things. And you must have heard that term YOLO generation. You only live once, and therefore you need to try out almost everything. But trying out everything means that there is a loss of identity, and therefore this generation is going back in search of identity and looking for their identities. Who am I? Now, please focus on this aspect of life. This generation is trying to drive their contemporary living from their past because their past relates or communicates identity to them. They want to be experimenting people. They want to experiment with life. They want to experiment with resources. They want to experiment. They believe in science, scientific temperament, logic, and other things. But at the same time, they're also skeptical of the fact that there's not only one truth, there are multiple truths. And your question for me is, perhaps for me is, that why at all am I talking about all these things? Some of you have guessed it right. And the reason is that the kind of people that we are dealing with, look what's happening in Nepal last 2 days. Look what's happening around the world. Look at our classrooms where many of us share the sentiment that the students that we get these days are irresponsible, they don't seek responsibilities, they're not serious about their studies. But please understand, and this is my request to the audience today, that please understand that actually we are two very different generations. We are two very different mental makeups dealing with each other. Our students are essentially meta-modernist in approach, whereas we are postmodernism with some traces of modernism still with us. What we say, what we expect, what we talk, something very different from what our students are expecting. But I've still not answered your question that why are we talking about this? And my simple submission is that I'm talking about this only to convey one point, that the kind of education that was creating or that was serving modernism and postmodernism is not sufficient to serve another set of species or another shade of humans who are meta-modern. So their expectations are different, their mental makeup is different, and therefore their training and their learning inputs have to be different. The older ways of training and teaching and educating them was absolutely or is absolutely illogical or is not done. We need it because the consumer is different, because our student is different, because our learner is different. Therefore, we need to have a different learning mechanism, a different ecosystem. So here are these three people, just the three different archetypes of learning personas. Sincere believer in progress, playful skeptics, the postmoderns, and more meta-modernists are hopeful doubters. Three different types of personalities, three different types of personas, and very logical to have three different types of learning mechanisms for this. And therefore, my argument that NEP is trying to address just that. Since our learner is different, our technological environment is different, the way today's learner picks up learning from their environment is different because of technology and other things. Therefore, we need a different mechanism. And please understand that different mechanism is national education policy, or that is precisely what the national education policy is trying to do. And I'll come back to this discussion, but then let me move to another discussion, the core of the discussion that we intend to discuss and take up, because in this refresher course, so the key word that we need to begin with is knowledge. But our keyword is Indian knowledge system. So let us first try to answer what comprises of Indian knowledge system. Again, because we are skeptical, we are doubters, and that is what we need to be, and more so because most of us are academics and educators, we need to challenge. But even at the risk of that, I would suggest that we still need to have some structure for our discussion. And when I search and when I try to organize, ask myself what constitutes Indian knowledge system, I find it a four-pronged repository of knowledge. One is Vidyas. I'll come and discuss the details of this also, but these are the faculties of higher learning, formal streams of learning, which is formal, textual, philosophical kind of faculties that we have here in our universities. So that those are the different Vidyas that we refer to. The second component is Kala, or as we refer to them in our Indian tradition, the 64 Kalas, Chaudhary Kalas, or the applied skills, the arts, crafts, creativity. So those are those So there are 14 Vidyas if you broadly look at the Indian knowledge ecosystem. So there are 14 Vidyas and there are 64 Kalas. But we didn't stop there. We have two more elements. Other is the Lok Vidya, which is the folk community wisdom from everyday know-how. We, along with a few other, are civilizational communities or civilizational nations or countries or civilizations which have existed almost unabated for last 3, 4, 5, 6 millennia, whatever you want to believe. 4,000 years, 5,000 years, people take it back to 10,000 years, and some even date it even older than this. So we have lived continuously in a part of the world, and because of our observation and our interaction with nature, we have created some wisdom. This is not a deductive learning, it's an inductive learning. From observation, from what is happening around us, we have learned and created a wealth of knowledge. That is Lok Vidya. And then you're talking about the Eastern cultures and more so about the Indian commonwealth of tradition, of spiritual tradition. The fourth is Adhyatma, or the study of the inner self, the spiritual dimension of learning. Right. Even a very contemporary definition of education is spiritually elevated, mentally agile, and physically fit. So being physically fit is the most tangible part of it. Mentally agile is the purpose of education. But all knowledge systems in India, all philosophical traditions, they say that you even need to be spiritually elevated. So look at these four components of our knowledge system, and you can relate it with the contemporary terminology that we are using. When it comes to faculties, we're talking about multidisciplinarity. When it comes to Kala, we're talking about vocationalization, or the vocational skills, skill setup of the vocational ecosystem. Lok Vidya is indigenous knowledge, and Adhyatma is value education. And to get a kind of a shade of each of these or a tinge of each of these when you're talking about NEP. So if you look at NEP the other way around, NEP is essentially talking about these four ecosystems, these four streams of learning, which is very, very obvious for us, right? Just two things I've been able to do so far in the first half an hour that I've had. One, we are dealing with a different person today. We are dealing with a different learner today. Second, to deal with a different learner, we have a NEP, and based on our understanding and our existence, we have identified that knowledge, and more so Indian knowledge system, is four-pronged. And these four-pronged approach, or these four components, get reflected in education policy. We're not talking about all four components today. We'll focusing on actually Kalas today because the theme is skill based. So when it comes to skill, we'll focus more about it. But how is it situated in the larger canvas? On the larger canvas is where I want to take you. Then let us spend 10-15 minutes talking about NEP's big idea. I started with some skepticism that all of us who come from different universities, different colleges, different parts of the country are still not comfortable. Our administration, our leaderships, our colleagues in the universities and colleges are still not comfortable with this whole idea of national education policy and its implementation. And probably all of you, if not all, 90% of you would agree with me that at some point of time we lament and we say that old system was okay. This is very confusing and very difficult to carry forward. So this is what almost every one of us at some point of time must have felt or discussed this. The challenge is that we're not accepting the fact that we are dealing with a very, very new system. It's like uh, you buying a EV, electrical vehicle, and then trying to run it on petrol or diesel. But then someone walks up to you and say that you don't need a petrol and diesel because yours is an electrical vehicle or a hybrid vehicle or something else. So what we are doing essentially is trying to still have the old system of education on a new chassis or a new platform. Please understand one of the essential elements of the new ecosystem is that we have moved from a push system to a pull system. What was push system? Push system was universities, colleges, teachers like me and you. We were the designers of learning. We designed the syllabus. We decided about degrees. We said, okay, if you want to do a BSc, this is going to be the curriculum. First semester, you're going to study this. Second semester, you're going to study this. So we decided everything and we pushed it onto the learners. They had only a very, very limited choice. Take it or leave it. You decide what you want to be. And if you want to do a BSc, then you'll have to leave everything else and do a BSc. And this is what a BSc from Marathwada University Aurangabad would be. This is what a BSc from Jamia Millia Islamia would be, or from whatever university or colleges that you are from. We have a standard thing which we wanted to push down the throat of our learners. The national education policy, or if you want to call it the new educational ecosystem, essentially is a pull system. Please understand this. The burden, Chaudhary understands this, and some of you, we use a term called co-creation. So the burden of creation is with the consumer. So the burden of learning and designing a learning pathway is not with the university and the college, but with the student. The student decides, learner decides what he wants to learn, when he wants to learn, how he wants to learn, and almost everything else associated with it. It's entirely on the student, and we are only facilitator of this new ecosystem. If a student wants to come to the class and learn, good for him. If he says, no, I want to go outdoor, learn by doing it, acceptable. If he says, no, I want to extract 2 courses from IGNU or some local open university, acceptable. If he says, no, I want to learn online, then he or she decides how he wants to learn. And even Sachin Tendulkar comes and says that, no, I don't want to learn from you guys. I've already learned it my ways. So we said, yes, you have learned your way, and your way is the best way because you are Sachin Tendulkar or you are Surya Kumar Yadav or whatever you are one of the best in your stream. And we recognize that you are at least equivalent to a PhD in cricket. Jamia Millia or Marathwada University or JNU or DU is not going to tell him that, no, you will have to write a NET exam and then you'll have to do a coursework and only then you are equivalent to a PhD. No, no, no. What Madhuri and I understand is that that young boy who works at a dhaba, roadside eatery, who has learned to, cook a paratha or who's learned to cook a dish, not at a hotel school, but through experience, can come to a school, can come to a university and say that, look, I have these skills, I have acquired them in a non-formal way, in a different way. You need to give me credits for this. Please understand, it's a system of credits. It's not a system of discredit. So we all need to be prepared that our learners, our students tomorrow will have freedom, must have freedom to decide what they want to learn. They can start their degrees as a student of BSc program and end with a MA in history, or midway decide to be a tourism graduate. They must have this choice because they are the YOLO generation. You only live once, and in this one lifetime, I must have absolute freedom to decide what I want to do, what I want to learn, and I'll retain this freedom, this right throughout my life. I'll come to this on the next slide. Second is, to effect this kind of a learning, you need to have a flexible system, which is multiple entry. On the document, it's called multiple entry, multiple exit, but essentially it's a system of free floating micro nano credits. If a student passes one course, please understand this. All our universities have these rules which have no rational. A student passes in 2 courses out of 5, and we say, no, he has failed in first year because he did not pass 50% of the courses. Most of us do that. He fails in course number 3, 4, 5, but he has scored good marks, good grades in course 1 and 2. Why do we declare him fail in those grades? Whatever he has learned, give him or her credit for that. So 2 years, 5 years down the line, we'll not be talking about degrees, we'll be talking about each floating module of learning with credits accrued to the learner and deposited in the academic bank of credit for transaction. So over a period of time, I do a course, I get credits for it. University or the agency decides how many credit, what is the requirement for acquiring the credits. Once this is done, this is deposited in my bank, and I can redeem it. As of now, the rule says, most of you know this, that redeem it within 7 years. So you can redeem it within next 7 years. That's it. Third important, there are many things, but I've just picked up a few of them. Third is 360-degree learning, which says that learn from different perspectives, which is essentially saying that bring in different learning perspectives. No, I didn't decide that I'll be talking to you guys today. I mean, I didn't decide it 30 years back, but I enjoyed my life. I started as an engineer, did an MBA, have a PhD in hospital management, joined Madhuri for tourism, and now I had a department which also offers hospitality programs. And that brings me to this class where I'm talking about Indian knowledge system. So different things. I feel contented. I feel fulfilled. I want to learn different things. I want to see. I want to have a 360 view of my world. And this is only possible when I look at it from different points of view. So multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity is important. And another very important element, which is another keyword for our discussion today, is the skill development thing. So some of these modules are skill-based modules. I can have another discussion on it, but I'm resisting this because I have to complete this whole discussion next 35 minutes, 35 minutes. And I mean, not because NEP is saying about Indian knowledge heritage system, heritage, but remember I told you to note and observe one of the term that I used in one of my earlier slides, and that was identity. So the youth today is trying to, is researching, not the way we use the word, but is not searching, but researching or trying to, establish their own identity, who we are. And that is where Indian knowledge heritage plays an important role. Just 4 important things. Lifelong learning, I spoke about it. Personalization, I decide what I want to learn, how I want to learn, how much time I want to take to learn, where do I want to learn. 2 courses in Jamia, 1 course in Marathwada, 1 course from Aurangabad, 2 courses from Harvard, whatever. You decide how you want to learn. Mobility between these different options. And I already discussed with you, even the recognition of prior learning. So during my summer breaks, I went to a retreat in, say, for example, Kerala or Haridwar, learned some yoga. I did a small course on yoga. So why should I not have 2 credits for my learning and understanding of yoga, or for that matter, anything? I go to the Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, and they have this rammed earth brick workshop, very popular workshop for engineers and for architects and for anyone who wants to do that. Go learn and come back and get it credited into your academic bank of credit. So that is what is going to happen tomorrow. So we are just done with 3 components of our discussion. Right? Started that today's learner is a different learner. Second, we spoke about Indian knowledge system, just a background of it. Third, what NEP intends to do with today's learner, that is important for us. And then we get to the core of the discussion that we wanted to have today. You understand, today I'm assuming that every one of us is, familiar with the national education policy and the implementation. Almost every university has done this. So I'm not talking today because I need to focus on skill courses. I'm focusing on 3 types of courses only. You understand these. I'm just repeating these so that we are on the same page. So you have these value-added courses which essentially are talking about cultural enrichment and creative freedom. And these are beyond the core discipline, beyond my discipline of tourism or management or medical science or engineering or whatever. And broadly, they say that you can earn in the undergraduate program, you need to earn around 8 credits. You earn 8 credits of value added. Then you have 9 credits of skill enhancement courses. These are the courses that focus on practical skills which can help you, be useful immediately. So I'm in my first year of learning. I'm a student of, say, for example, history, BA history program. And then I also do a course on, say, storytelling or a heritage walk. And I decided to try this out for some time. I take a break. I get a certificate, multiple entry, multiple exit scheme. I take a break. But during my 1 year of learning, I have also acquired, say, for example, a walking skill or a walk leader skills. So I can do that. Or I become a painter, I can do this. Or I do something related to computers. So whatever I want to learn, skills that I want, I can use those skills. Or I go to a mall because I've had some training in retailing. So and I go and help some of these big shopping malls that are there in all of our cities. So I can do this and develop certain job ready competencies in line with national skill qualification framework. So again, we don't spend time because here. And then obviously we have these ability enhancement courses, which are foundation level courses, add-on courses, mandatory for almost everyone, essentially talking about value education. Remember the value added part of it. So it adds value, the way you look at your profession, the way you look at your learning, some skills, advanced skills, which help you, say, for example, communication, environmental skills, things like this. So Some examples here. VAC are helping you with extra skills and knowledge. Say, for example, a course on Introduction to Creative Writing or a course on Basics of AI. Skill enhanced courses are practical hands-on skills like public speaking and presentation skills, data visualization skills, which can be offered in a workshop mode or some other mode. And then you have these ability enhances courses like something like environmental studies or communication in English, Hindi, the way you want to offer it. So what I'm trying to say is that VAC is essentially saying that let's taste something new. Decided to study engineering, decided to study science, decided to study commerce, decided to study something, but let me try out something else on the sidelines. So let me taste something new. Skill says that let me sharpen this into a real skill. So I'm a student of, say, for example, commerce, but let me learn photography or let me learn coding. So these are some other skills that I need to do. And let's make this make it sure that everyone has this foundation: presentation skills, language skills, communication skills, sensitivity towards environment, things like that. Again, a broad array of things. Then we start winding up our discussion, and I'll give you some examples. And please, I have shared 2 detailed notes with the organizers, and they're going to share this with you. One is the note which is based on my discussion with you, and other is the appendix kind of a thing where I talk about these 64 kalas. So Indian knowledge system is essentially about 14 Vidyas, which are 4 Vedas, 6 Vedants, and 4 Upves. That makes it 14. And then there are 64 kalas. They are not themed, but if you look at it and if you have modern tools with you, and if you try to thematize them, you'll end up with these 8 themes. Which is performing arts, body adornment and decorative art, costume, perfume, and personal art. So look at these 8 categories. So your 64 kalas that we talk about in our knowledge tradition are essentially about these 8 cohorts. Now I want to share with you 2 important things before I move on to the next slide. 2 real good examples. I told you I'm an engineer by my education, and so I was visiting my university in Jodhpur. My college is now a university. It's called MBM University of Engineering, Rajasthan, one of the oldest public universities of engineering colleges in Rajasthan. And I was talking to some of my colleagues there, some teachers there, and you know what? Look at this 3rd generation, the postmodern learners. This is interesting. They said because they had to implement NEP, they had to offer these courses, and the most popular course in the university was astrology. 20 years back, if engineers and scientists talk about astrology, they would say that, look, this is, occult. Who in science talks about astrology? Astronomy is still fine, but, astrology, Janampatri, and all these things are against the principles of science. But today, the best of the learners, I mean, people with scientific temperament, engineers, for them, this is popular. And this is not one-off experience of mine. Just 2 Sundays back, at Cannot Place in Delhi, which is the heart of Delhi, I was passing by a lane which is called Kasturba Gandhi Marg, and it was all blocked by some high-end cars and vehicles. So Mercedes and BMWs and all high-end cars were parked. I said, why are they parked here today on a Sunday? And then they told me this is Bharati Vidya Bhavan. I said, what are these cars doing here? They said people come to study here on Saturdays and Sunday. I said, what do they study at Bharati Vidya Bhavan? And they're studying almost everything. They're studying music, they're studying dance, they're studying palmistry, astrology, languages. Someone is studying French, German, Chinese. You name a thing, and people are interested. They're willing. They come in all these luxury vehicles. They are willing to pay good amount of money, and they want to learn all these things. Now, this brings me to one more learning, and which is important for us. I'm talking to you in English. I studied English. Most of you have studied English. But most of us did not study English because we wanted to become an English teacher. In school or in university or in college, whatever, we wanted to learn English, or we learned English for our personal consumption. Some of us are interested in history. If you come to my place, my home, look at my library, majority of books, 60 to 70% books are history and politics books. I love that. My sons like that. Please understand, education, learning is largely for the personal consumption of the learner. While we are talking about the skills, while we continue to talk about the skills, let us also understand that all education is not about jobs and skills to earn money. The larger part of our learning is because we want to navigate this world and exist as a human being. That is what we want in our lives. Let me put it simply, and Madhuri would agree with me. We are facing a challenge in our tourism programs of falling admissions. Almost every university of India struggles with admission
Ji,
to
sir.
tourism and hospitality programs. Having said that, one of the most popular courses by students of other faculty in my university is a tourism course. Students from engineering, from dentistry, from from School of Foreign Language, of other languages. Everyone would like to come to my department to study one or two courses in tourism. I asked these students, these young boys and girls, why do you want to study tourism? Very interestingly, most of them said that we all travel. Every weekend we are traveling to some place. I mean, if we do a small quick survey amongst ourselves, we are like 30-40 people here in the group. Almost every one of us has traveled within last 3 months. Almost everyone. So you spend money, you put in effort, and you would like to make good use of this opportunity. And therefore, you would say that if some learning can help me become a better traveler, enjoy my travel more, I am willing to learn this. So learning to consume tourism is on the uprise, or is on the rise, and learning tourism to serve probably is on the downslide. So please understand this difference, that learning is for larger part of a learning is for your consumption. So when a contemporary meta-modern youngster, a generation Z, or the millennials, they want to learn it for a better life. Therefore, they would like to pull this learning from the ecosystem. And that is where I started. That we as university, we as college, we as learning ecosystem needs to provide them with this flexibility and options. If Jamia can offer them 10 creative courses and they're still not interested in these 10 creative courses, they can go to some other universities at DU, or if they are on a weekend, just and for the weekend, if they're traveling to their nanny's place or their uncle's place in Aurangabad, and your university is offering something, they can learn that skill here and come back. and get it credited. So let us create this kind of a eco system for our learners. This is important. So two things, people are wanting to experiment with different things. In terms of learning, we must allow them. And then let us come to the last part of our discussion, which is essentially what we actually wanted to talk about. Recently, very recently, just not even a week back, Mohan Bhagwatji said that if some of these 64 kalas are relevant, we should teach them. But we have been, playing with or experimenting with or, deliberating about these 64 kalas for quite some time. And therefore, when I got this opportunity to come and talk to you, I readily agreed. I'm taking example of just two of these. There's 64 of them. Two of them is, say, for example, one is Natya and other is, which is theater and drama. And one of the other is Yantra Metrika, which is mechanics or simple machine craft, dealing with machines and other things. So these are two of the kalas listed amongst those 64 kalas. So I'm just taking two cases for your convenience. Say, for example, Natya Vidya, theater and drama. Please see that with the change in context, you can have a VAC, Introduction to Theater, which can talk about learning the basics of performance, stage presence, maybe bring in some inputs on history of Indian theater. I am telling you, look at entire repository of experiences. So if you look at all the models of experiences from a psychological point of view, most of the authors talk about 6 or 7 way classification of experiences. If you talk about rasas in Indian tradition, they're talking of 9 types of experiences, 9 types of rasas. So in some cases, you might find some additional inputs, and that is where maybe history of Indian theater is good. This will help a student connect with literature and performance, just introducing him or her to these things. At the skill level, if you want to offer it as a skill enhancement course, you can offer a course of acting and stagecraft. I don't need to remind you, n number of good cricketers who are engineers, a good number of authors who are cricketers, good number of stars in Indian cinema who have studied or who began to study engineering, sciences, and mathematics, and then they diverted because they had a different skill set or they had at some point of time acquired these skills. Hands-on skills in dialogue delivery, costume, stage management. Look at this. Or still, if you want to have a kind of, ability enhancement thing, not just the performing part, but the thinking part of it, you can offer a AECC in script writing and direction. Just flipping the slide, which says that students gain confidence, better communication, creative thinking, and a career skills in theater, media, or teaching. Yes, so I started as a science student. I took one of these courses which created my interest. Friends, some of you might be wondering that I'm talking very hypothetical. So let me give you precise reference. I know these guys. Chaudhary also knows these people. Some of these probably. They are colleagues in University of Jammu. Jammu is a university which exists today. Go to UGC and they also praise this initiative of Jammu University. The initiative is called Design Your Degree, DYD. I have a brochure of DYD right here on my table. What they do is, the idea is that the student takes admission in a nameless degree in the university. For 2 years, they hop and they struggle and they read and they develop interest. in different things. Say, for example, one of the courses is mathematics without fear. So a typical humanities students who got afraid of studying mathematics in his or her school comes to Jammu University, takes up this course, which is taught in a very different way, and relatively later stage he or she generates an interest in you know mathematics or chemistry or botany or some other thing, and then in their third and fourth year of graduation, 4 year degrees, they can decide to go to the statistics department or the mathematics department or the chemistry department or the botany department to pursue a BSc. So you do a class 12 in history, come to Jammu University, try to rediscover your interest, and then complete your degree there. So look at the pathways that they've created. I do not know, they just started with this program, very creative program. UGC is praising them. I know the two guys who uh, coordinate this program. I also do not know whether this program will be successful or not. There are skeptics who say this is not going to work, but there are optimists also who say they are going to work. But UGC and NEP says that at least experiment before failing. And I am one person who is willing to experiment. It fits. There are few other courses which are very creative in their portfolio, and you can just reach out to Jammu University and do that. The other example was that of Yantra Mitrika, again, another of the Kala, and you can have some basic mechanical crafting. Another example that I must share with you, light-hearted but a real example. My elder brother, right now he lives in Oxford in UK, but he's a Dutch citizen and he was in Amsterdam, and I was visiting him once, and all of a sudden one of his friends, a Dutch guy, walks into his home. They talk for a few seconds and then both of them go inside the house. My brother had a workshop, small room where he had a lot of equipments. So they both go there, spend like an hour there, and they come back. Then this friend leaves. And I asked my brother, like, who was he? What was he doing? And things like that. Real thing, let me tell you. So my brother is telling me this story. He says he is my good friend. His wife has filed for a divorce. And the reason for divorce is that he is no good as a husband. Being no good as a husband, don't take it in the wrong direction. This simply means, or she simply meant when she went to court, was that as a husband, he has to be a good team player in managing the household, which this gentleman is not. You know what the court says? Court gave this man 6 months time to go back to the university and learn at least 2 skills. So this man takes a sabbatical from his job because he has to save his marriage also, and he decides to do 2 courses. I think one of these courses was carpentry and the other was gardening. And this was at the instruction of the court in Holland. To practice his carpentry skills, he was coming to my brother's place because he had this workshop in his home. How important are these skills? We are in a different setup. We are actually moving towards a Western economic structure, and then you'll realize that these skills are very, very important skills. My son is a lawyer, but he cooks his own food every day. He loves cooking. So a boy who is a lawyer, who practices in High Court and Supreme Court, is also a good cook. Look at, these skills. So just look at this basic. You must have read the entire slide before you. So you can offer mechanics or machining as a value-added course or a skill enhancement course, which is traditional engineering and tools, or heritage machines and design, a course like that. But what is more interesting is, skipping this part, is that actually students from arts and humanities can go in for this course. So Natvidya could be taken up by engineers and vice versa. Engineers who are boxed into equation machines, dealing with only machines and equations and lab and everything, also need to learn expression, empathy, teamwork, creativity. They need to present their ideas. They need to be good with their communication skills, with their presentation skills, with their creativity. And where does this creativity comes from? Where do these soft skill comes from? Nothing better than doing a course, a skill course or a value-added course on theaters. Madhuri and I, we are tourism people. We have a course or a skill called tour guiding. So we train young boys and girls to be better tour guides. And one of the inputs is that if you have some inputs of theater, you are a better storyteller, you are a more engaging storyteller. So to be a tourist guide, besides knowing tourism, you also need to know some theater. Look at this combination. This is what is important. So a VSc in Introduction to Theatre could be followed by a skill enhancement course in stagecraft, where engineers use their technical side for, stage building and things like that. The biggest advancement in, for example, in medicine is because of engineering. Almost entire medicine now is leveraged on engineering, whereas some 25 years back, you could either be a doctor or an engineer. Look at the marriage of the two. Look at the interdisciplinary nature of the two things. The engineer should, as a human being, must have a human side as well, and therefore certain human inputs or humanities inputs are essential for them. I can flip it. Mechanics for arts and humanities students. They need to learn about human ingenuity. In my university, this younger generation, our Department of Electrical Engineering is offering a 2-credit course on how to change your electrical fittings, how to mend your smaller, gadgets. So we are offering this. My department is offering a 2-credit course for students from other departments, from other parts of the country, who all travel to Delhi and do not get a hostel and struggle with food. So we are offering them a 2-credit course in preparing breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the ingredients available in Delhi. So a boy from Kerala or a boy from Northeast or a boy from Gujarat who comes to Jamia to study doesn't get a hostel, but he is struggling. We said, okay, here are the ingredients. 16 sessions, 16 things. We help them uh, help them learn to prepare these 16 dishes, which include breakfast and lunch and dinner. And it's a 2-credit course, directly useful for them, very useful, straightforward, useful for them. So look at all these integrations. VAC in Heritage Machines of India could lead to an SEC in Traditional Tools in Daily Life and Art, and an AECC in Design Thinking for All for students of arts and humanities. It will be very useful for them. Or they can take it to a different, give it a different shade. Move into the direction of restoration craft, and these are just examples for you guys. So it's fun learning. Besides foreign learning, it contributes directly to heritage conservation. And because there's a huge market for museums, archaeology, cultural tourism, a student of arts who learns these some mechanics or mechanical engineering or some engineering, some conservation can be useful here. Someone who knows cooking and who knows some automobile repair can be a leader for a caravan. So the caravan business is on the rise and someone can do that. Here are 64 colors. I'm just giving you a screenshot of these colors. Look at these, just one slide. I have prepared an entire appendix for all 64 colors with for each color, one example of VAC, one example of SEC, one example of AECC. But this is just illustrative for your ready reference only. You can design n number of courses under each category which are relevant for today. So this is what I'm taking from Mohan Bhagwatji. Your courses need to be relevant. 64 colors is only telling you what was considered, interesting and for humans at that point of time, maybe in a different avatar, maybe in a different shape, maybe in a different color. It's still relevant for us. Music is still relevant for us. Dance is still relevant for us. You like me, we come across these advertisements on digital platforms. So you have a marriage in your family 3 months down the line. Why don't we learn 3 dance moves to be performing better at a family marriage event? Learning this. So look at these things. These 64 colors are only telling you the 64 dimension of human existence. Bed making was then an art. Housekeeping is still an art. In a different way, with more inputs, in a different context, with different technologies, with different fabric, with different things. So they're still relevant. So pick up from there. So I think I'll stop here so that you have another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes to pose some questions if you have any questions. So essentially, we spoke about 4 things. One, we started by saying that we are dealing with different types of individuals. These different individuals are actually seeking different type of things. Some of these dimensions are related to their own identity, and therefore we need to have a supply system of learning where we provide them with inputs from these, and these are essentially, if you want to call it, if you like calling them that way, is the Indian knowledge tradition or Indian knowledge heritage, whatever phrase you want to use it. Second, this is addressed through NEP. So we have addressed this through NEP. We went to the skill part of the NEP, right? That people want to acquire these skills and they want to acquire these skills throughout their life. One of my colleagues who just retired as number 2 from a petroleum company in India. So he retires at an age of 60. He's fit and fine, touch wood. And he says, what do? I always wanted to learn Sanskrit. So now he's learning Sanskrit. I have a colleague here in the department who is learning palmistry. Shared with you examples of people. And I mean, there's nothing about being scientific or something else. It's about containment, something that I like, something that intrigues me, something that's of interest to me. I want to learn. So learning is about interest. It makes me wholesome. The more I learn, different things I know, the more satisfied, the more content I am. So that's the way learning ecosystem has to be. And with your permission, I'll stop here and address you guys. In case you have some questions for me, if you have some comments for me, do let me know. Want a small elaboration on some other thing, I'll be happy to do that.
Hello, participants. Session is open for
Yeah.
question and answer. If anybody have any question, please ask.
हेलो सर.
Hello. Yeah, please
हाँ
go
सर.
ahead.
सर मैं हिंदी में बात कर सकता हूँ सर.
अरे yes.
सर मैं असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर संदीप गोगे, कॉलेज ऑफ एजुकेशन नेवासा, महाराष्ट्र से बोल रहा हूँ सर, अलियानगर.
जी,
सर
जी.
आपने विजन ऑफ एनईपी और आईकेएस के बारे में बहुत अच्छी बातें बताई. मेरा सवाल ऐसा है सर, थोड़ा अलग तरह का सवाल है.
बिल्कुल.
विजन ऑफ एनईपी में हम 3 टाइप्स ऑफ कोर्स जो है, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, स्किल एनहांस कोर्स और एबिलिटी एनहांसमेंट कोर्स. हमारे इंडिया का जो एजुकेशनल बैकग्राउंड देखे सर, तो 2000 साल पुराना इतिहास है हमारे इंडिया का. वहां जो तक्षशिला, नालंदा, वल्लभी, विक्रमशिला जो यूनिवर्सिटीज थी, वहां ये 2000 साल पहले ये 14 कला और 64 विद्या पढ़ाई जाती थी सर, मेरे मेरे नॉलेज के हिसाब से सर. बराबर है सर?
ऑलमोस्ट.
हाँ सर. उसके बाद ब्रिटिश भारत में आए और हमने ब्रिटिश एजुकेशनल सिस्टम एडॉप्ट की और हम इंडिपेंडेंट हुए भी 100 साल हुए हैं सर. और हम 2020 अभी 2025 में एनईपी की बात कर रहे हैं. जो भारत के पास 2000 साल पहले था, ये एनईपी के बारे में हम आज वही सोच रहे हैं. ये इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंट होने के बाद भी ये 100 साल में एजुकेशनल सिस्टम में ये पहले क्यों नहीं? मुझे लगता है कि सर ये बहुत लेट हुआ है. हमने जो हमारे भारत में जो पहला था वही हम पहले करते तो जो 200 साल पुराना अमेरिका इतिहास है, अमेरिका वर्ल्ड में टॉप है और हम बीच में हैं. तो उसके बारे में आपकी क्या राय है सर? मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ.
मेरी राय आपसे थोड़ी सी अलग है, और थोड़ी सी राय इसलिए अलग है क्योंकि मैं इसको थोड़ा सा डिफरेंटली देख रहा हूँ. मेरा ये मानना है कि अलग अलग टाइम के, एंड फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ एवरीवन, अगर आप, इफ आई कैन यूज इंग्लिश, द वे आई एम लुकिंग एट इट इज that at different points of time our requirements are different. Maybe today's NEP was not okay, say 1945 or 1955, 1960, because the way humans or the individuals or the people were thinking, because of whatever reason, because of 200 years or because of industrialization, Renaissance in Europe, which was driving the entire globe at that point of time, these are evolutions. And my submission is that we need to have an answer to these challenges as and when they come up. So probably for a modernism, in the era of modernism, probably today's NEP was not a very good fit, because that point of time people were looking at scientific temper, more organized way of life, less fuzzy. We have come to this era through a transition with postmodernism in between. Now we are in a meta-modern era, and therefore NEP today is actually addressing today's challenge. So very difficult for me to say that if we would have done this 50 years back or 70 years back, it would have been okay. So from that point of view, I have my reservations. But yes, today it's very easy for me to say that, look, a wholesome life is about so many things. And say 2000 years back or 1500 years back also, we have actually touched upon those points. So to sum up, we had definitely touched upon so many things, different dimensions of human existence, but all of a sudden now they are more relevant, and they are more relevant in a very different framework. Today I can learn dancing online. 100 years back or even 50, 20 years back, I could not have done that. Right? So this expectation of a youngster today is because he lives in a different technological environment. Right? So when my father was a young boy, or when I was a young boy, if I wanted to do a NEP kind of a thing, that was just not feasible. Right? So those were the times, our teachers, their job was to collate information, knowledge for us, convert them into books or notes, and then we would study those notes. Today, the challenge is entirely different. There's a lot of knowledge, and the job of a teacher is to filter and summarize the knowledge. Students don't actually need teachers for information. Information is available for them. For curating information, sometimes you need teachers, not for collating information. So we are in different times and different eras, and solution has to be contemporary. I mean, contemporary problems, contextual solution to that. That is how I look at it. For today's challenge, NEP is good.
Sir, my name is Dr. Gangu.
Yes, Dr.
Sir, actually, sir, before talking NEP, so if you go back, like as you said, 50 years or 40 years, 30 years ago, our forefathers used to study science plus arts. Like, they used to study
Yeah.
mathematics and history, and as well as, chemistry plus economics. So now we are going the same process now. Do you think we are adapting old methodology, as you said, one thing? And do we accept that? Can NEP 2020 balance modern education with Indian knowledge system?
I think yes. I mean, my only reservation is that on the surface, because they studied science with arts, and we are again talking about science with arts, therefore they are same, is not the case. They are studying arts and science together, and are studying arts and science together is contextually different, content-wise different, approach-wise different, but principally it's the same. But if you look at the history of education also, some 500, 300, 400, 500 years old universities in Europe, there were only 3 or 4 streams. So philosophy, science, and medicine, and religion, right? Theology. So these were the 4 streams of learning. So they were very close to each other. Philosophy was, or everything was interrelated. Then we super specialized, had these silos, independent things. And now again, we're talking about integration. So the realization that our existence is one, we're getting back to it. But because we could not have handled this in the interim, we had these specialization kind of things. But now with the modern technology, with a lot of information also, we can handle it. Therefore, we are getting back to it. The second question was about NEP and Indian knowledge system. I gave you at least 4 or 5 examples where there is concrete evidence of contemporary learners who have gotten so very interested in Indian knowledge system, Indian knowledge base or Indian knowledge base. They're spending money, time, and effort to acquire that. Just allowing them this opportunity is what NEP is doing. So NEP is doing a right thing by integrating it and introducing it. And I can give you some examples from other countries, civilizational countries, who have already done this. Briefly, China is one such country where they've done this at least 20, 30 years ahead of us. Just to give you a reference, in China, it's an offense. It's illegal to criticize Chinese traditional medicine. In India, if you talk about Ayurveda or some traditional healing method, everyone is free to criticize. More so, an MBBS doctor has the first right to criticize it. China, around 30 years back, they've integrated allopathy with traditional Chinese. TCM is the term that we use, traditional Chinese medicine with allopathy. It's part of the same curriculum. So if you want to become a doctor, you don't become a doctor in allopathy, or you don't become a doctor in Ayurveda. You become a doctor of medicine where you studied both of them, and they go a bit on the extreme, but their extreme is that it is legally an offense to criticize Chinese traditional medicine. I'm not commenting on the validity or the merit of it, but I'm only saying that they've been able to integrate it 30 years before us, 35 years before us. Now they're doing good. In India also, probably they're moving the same way. How we do it could be different. So,
सर
Thank you, sir.
हेलो
yeah, please.
सर मेरा एक सवाल है
जी, बताइए.
सर्टिफिकेट डिप्लोमा डिग्री
Which one? Certificate degree diploma, right?
सर्टिफिकेट डिप्लोमा डिग्री अगर छात्र सेकंड ईयर में है और उन्होंने महाविद्यालय छोड़ दिया तो क्या उसे डिप्लोमा का सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाएगा?
का प्रोविजन ये है कि अगर उसे 4 क्रेडिट का एग्जिट कोर्स और करना पड़ेगा स्किल बेस्ड, जब भी वो बीच में छोड़ेगा सर्टिफिकेट के बाद या डिप्लोमा के बाद, अगर वो 4 क्रेडिट का एग्जिट क्रेडिट कहते हैं हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में, आप कुछ भी कह सकते हैं, पर 4 क्रेडिट की एक स्किल और लेनी पड़ेगी. जब वो स्किल ले लेगा तब उसको डिप्लोमा दिया जा सकता है एनईपी के हिसाब से.
वही कंफ्यूज हो रहा था सर.
नहीं, चाहे वो पहले साल के बाद छोड़ेगा और उसे सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए तो भी उसे 4 क्रेडिट का करना है, और अगर वो सेकंड ईयर के बाद डिप्लोमा करना चाहता है लेना तो भी उसे 4 क्रेडिट का एग्जिट कोर्स करना है, और वो स्किल के नेचर का होना चाहिए.
ओके सर, ओके.
Madhuri, it's precisely 4:30.
I think, yeah, it's 4:30, so I intervene. So, sir, thank you so much. We would like to have more questions, but we are running time. The other resource person is waiting. So you have focused on the 360-degree learning, and you have given so many examples, collaborating the IKS with the modern system and the old system, and giving lots and lots of examples nationally and internationally as well. And so thank you so much. We also thank you for the notes which you have given, and you have taken a lot of efforts to prepare this. And also the 34 colors which you have, I will be definitely circulating
64.
it with the, sorry, 64 colors. I will be definitely, I hope this will be very beneficial for all the participants to develop new courses, because they are future leaders, sir. They are in the BOS and syllabus development processes as well, and some are very very young, just joined. So I think your lecture was very very insightful, and personally I'm very happy to have you in this forum. Yeah, thank you so much, and I request the participants to please give the vote of thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Dr. Nimit Chaudhary, sir, course coordinator Dr. Madhuri Sawant, ma'am, and all the participants. My name is Manoj Palve, roll number 17, and I am here to propose a vote of thanks. It is my great honor to privilege to deliver a vote of thanks to the resource persons for the today's session on the behalf of all the participants of this refresher course. First and foremost, I extend our gratitude to Dr. Chaudhary sir. Sir, your insightful and thought-provoking session has enriched us with valuable knowledge and broadened our understanding in many dimensions. Your vast academic experience, international perspective, and in a deep expertise in the field of IKS and visions of NEP have truly inspired us. In this talk, sir, focus on the keywords Indian knowledge and system. Then, sir, talk on four component Vidya, Kalas, Lok Vidyas, and Adhyatma. Sir, we are deeply thankful to you for taking the time out of out of your busy schedule to be with us today and for sharing such a meaningful knowledge and scientific and hypothetical thoughts on IKS. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for your valuable contribution in the field of IKS. I would also like to express sincere thanks to our course coordinator, Dr. Madhuri Sawant, ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to extend vote of thanks. I also thankful to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking
Thank
to
you,
all of
sir.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear participants, we already have the resource person, next resource person in the online forum. Please start with the introduction.
Yes, ma'am.
Roll number 19 there, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Manorama Patre, working as assistant professor in Ankush Tope College, Jalna. My roll number is 19. First of all, thank you, organizer team, that they have given me opportunity to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Satish Kumar ji, who is popularly known as Professor GSK also. He is a visionary economist and a sustainability expert dedicated to transforming generations through his philosophy of be the cause of changes. So, Professor GSK sir served the society towards sustainability in terms of social, economic, and philosophical ideologies through sharing knowledge by learning, researching, teaching, and outreach activities. Sir has more than 15 years of academic understanding and evidence based research observation in economics, society, public policy, geopolitics, and sustainability. His subject areas of expertise and practice are macroeconomic analysis, sustainability, development economics, and evidence based public policy. He has a strong academic background and wealth of experience in teaching, research, and outreach activities. Sir, currently serving as a professor of economics at School of Social Sciences and Languages, Vellore Institute of Technology, Chennai. He has held various esteemed positions, which includes a chief policy researcher at Populous Empowerment Network, Chennai, Chief Learning Officer at Dr. GSK's Social Lab, Bangalore, Associate Professor at Presidency University, Bangalore, Karnataka, Assistant Professor at Great Lake Institute of Management, Chennai, the Gandhigram Rural Institute Deemed University, Dindigul, and Alagappa University, Karaikudi, and Project Associate at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. As a researcher, he has published 2 books, 11 research papers in refereed and peer-reviewed national international journals, and 12 chapters in edited books by reputed national and international publishing houses. With respect to his vast research contributions, he has been honored with membership in editorial boards of international journals, including Emerald's International Journal of Social Economics, Journal of Sustainable Development, American Journal of Rural Development, and Journal of International Business Research. Professor GSK is also serving as an honorary consultant for the non-government organizations working for society and sustainability, specifically new generation and early startups and community-based organizations. So on behalf of all the participant and UGC MMTTC team of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, I welcome Satish sir and request to enlighten us with the knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Umesh.
Sir,
Yeah,
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. This is Dr. Madhuri Sawant, the course coordinator.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Madhuri. It's my pleasure to be part of this wonderful program. I thank you for the invitation. Once again, good afternoon to everyone. and I appreciate your time for taking part, for developing your academic skills and knowledge. So as teachers and researchers, we are supposed to all the time develop our knowledge. Okay. If you want to be a teacher, then you need to be ever learner. Okay. So I'm very happy that all your teachers here are being learners today. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. So coming to my presentation today, so I would like to give a overall idea about how this Indian knowledge system. So the different experts giving different dimensions of Indian knowledge systems. As I am a professor of economics, I would like to just enlighten all of you. I also want to recollect and how this Indian knowledge system is helping us to shaping different economic policies by looking at the history. Okay, so that's what we are going to do for another almost 60 plus minutes. Yeah. So this Indian knowledge system, if you go and trace it, it is not simply a body of ancient text. It's not only a text, but it is a living tradition we Indians follow, and we infused this into our daily routine life. Okay, the Indian knowledge system is not something which is literally available in the text. This is a kind of regular routine practice we follow in our culture, customs, all these things we follow here. So the living tradition, this infuses our daily life into collective memory, values, and local institutions. So as a society, this Indian knowledge system helping us to have a collective memory and collective actions, and it also helping us to have the Indian values. And if you look at the history, we also had, and now also we are having a very strong local institutions. Okay, so the Indian knowledge system, by and large, it's not a simple body of ancient text. It's a living tradition we follow. So coming down the other side, economic thought. Okay, where if you see economic school of thoughts, there are so many school of thoughts are there across the world. For example, based on the ideology of the professors and ideology of the philosophy they come up with. So we have a different school of economic thoughts. When it comes to relating this to the India, I found that this India's economic thought is actually rooted in the holistic, our indigenous knowledge system, which is sustaining over, centuries of years through the oral transmission, through the oral communication, classical treaties, and living community practices. We carry, as a community, as a society, we carry that knowledge system till now, and we will be carrying it ever. So, in that sense, this India's economic thought itself is rooted from the Indian knowledge system. Whereas in the Western, unlike the atomized approaches of the modern Western economies, including US, Europe, and other countries, this Indian knowledge system blends the pursuit of material wealth with ethical, social, and philosophical obligations, codified in the concept like dharma, artha, and lok samata. So we are all aware about it. So our economics is codified with the dharma, artha, and loka samarka, and not like very so much of atomized approaches of the modern Western economies. With this context setting and background, I would like to ask a question, and this is what we are going to discuss for another 60 minutes. How this Indian knowledge system have contributed to the economic policy historically, and considering the challenges and possibilities of integrating them into contemporary recent times policy making. So this is what I'm just trying to address throughout my lecture for another 60 minutes. So I will be recollecting lot of historical memories, a lot of historical contributions with the help of Indian knowledge system. And then we will have at the end, we'll have the two questions on this. Okay, yeah. Yes. So historical evolution. So I just classified this historical evolution of Indian knowledge system into different time period. Let's start with the ancient time period, that is from 3000 BCE to the 600 CE. Okay, so we'll see the different periods. See, if you look at this ancient period, so there are a lot of things we can found in our Vedic. I just try to cull out the economic foundations in our Vedic documents, Vedas. So the earliest references to the economic thought in India that is being traced to the Vedic literature, which was available from the period of 1500 to 500 BC. The Rig Veda, if you read it, whoever is read, it contains numerous hymns that reflect an understanding of trade, agriculture, wealth distribution. So a lot of the elements of economics is being also addressed in our Vedas itself. For example, the concept of Rita, the cosmic order, provided the philosophical foundation for economic activities by emphasizing the harmony and balance in all transactions. The Vedic period, with the Vedic period, we will get to know about these through our Vedas. The Vedic period established several key principles. We'll see few of them here for our discussion and the presentation. Yajna economics, the concept of yajna, that is sacrifice or exchange, represented the fundamental economics principle, that is the wealth is interconnected and should circulate for the benefit of all. Look at, the modern days economics talks about the wealth is interconnected, and modern days economics talks about the circulate the wealth for the benefit of all. If you take the concept economic growth itself, how many times your money is being multiplied? So that many times, the economy will grow. So this is being discussed in our Vedas itself. The principle opposed the hoarding and encouraged generous distribution of resources. So it basically insists our people to share the resources with the others. And then the other one I would like to bring to your notice here is asrama system, where we have four different stages of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, and vanaprastha, and sannyasa. So this provides a framework for understanding the economic throughout an individual's life, economic behavior throughout an individual's life. So balancing material pursuits with the spiritual development as we move and grow from brahmacharya to sannyasa, we will be moving from material pursuits to the spiritual development. So this culture, our Vedas, and it culturally, it insists to move from the material pursuits to the spiritual development. And, there are a lot of critics, since I come from South, and there are a lot of critics are there on this Varna system. But when it was established, it was not established with the intent which is prevailing at present. Actually, it was established, so that's why I mentioned it here. The Varna system is becoming very rich now, but originally it was created, it was emphasized in the Veda to represent functional specialization in the economic activity. For example, that is what we discuss in economics, a division of labor. So division of labor. So when you do one thing repeatedly, you will become specialized in it. Okay. So there is a concept division of labor. That is what this Varna system is actually division of labor, and that makes people to specialize in it. So they will be contributing to the economy with their own skills and services to the society. And I'll bring another document here, Arthasastra, a comprehensive economic treatise. The Kaudalya's Arthasastra, which also represent an ancient Indian economic thought. I have just have few points to discuss here. So each documents we can have 1 hour of lecture, but still for I want to give you the comprehensive picture of how we evolved as the Indian knowledge system and how this evolution of Indian knowledge system helped us to have our own indigenous the economic school of thought and economic policies in that. So coming to here, the state economics. The Arthashastra represents guidelines for state revenue generation, expenditure management, and economic planning. It outlines 7 sources of state income. So not only Arthashastra, if you look at our own literatures like Tirukkural, that also have there are 3 chapters. One of the chapter talks about the economics, the wealth. It outlines 7 sources of the Arthashastra, as like Arthashastra outlines 7 sources of state income, and the Tirukkural and other literatures are also very rightly coming up with the economic and financial management of the country. Okay, so it emphasizes the 7 sources of state income, and it also emphasizes the importance of a balanced budget. So it talks about the balanced budget. See, in the 600 CE, okay, so we are talking about the balanced budget. Coming to the trade and commerce, I can able to trace that there are a lot of good understanding about market mechanism, price regulation, quality control, international trade. All these elements are there in the Arthashastra. Especially coming to agricultural policy, it emphasizes the agriculture as the foundation of the economy. So, as we were being agrarian economy for long period, and now we are shifting from agrarian to the service-oriented economy. But still, in terms of the employment generation, agriculture the sector is the primary sector which provides the large employment opportunities, not the service sector, not the industry sector even now. So coming to Arthashastra, it emphasizes agriculture as the foundation of the economy, provides very detailed guidelines for the land management, irrigation, crop selection, and agriculture taxation. Not just these documents what we are quoting here. You name any literatures, any documents of Indian culture and Indian society for name it any language. We have so many languages, so many cultures, so many races. You name any language, you name any race, everyone is having their own, a rich literature which talks about, which gives directions and guidelines for the land management, the economic services, irrigation, and whatnot. And industrial organization, this also describes the industrial sectors like graph, quality standards, guild organizations, all these things. And particularly when coming to the welfare economics, see, one of the service, job of the government is to act as a welfare state. So to act as a welfare state, the Arthashastra incorporates the many concepts like social welfare, that too particularly providing necessary provisions to the poor, senior citizens, and disabled, And this reflects an early understanding of inclusive economic development. We have a thought process of inclusive economic development way back to the thousands of years before. And I would like to introduce another, a concept here, dharmic economics in the classical context. See, all the Dharma Shastras, what we refer, including Manusmriti and other legal texts that established economic principles based on Dharma. So these texts emphasized a lot of things, but I just collated three of that for your understanding. One is interest regulation. So there is a detailed guidelines on lending practices, interest rate, and debt recovery, which aiming at preventing exploitation while encouraging the productive investment. So good. So we have a document which talks about lending practices, interest rate, debt recovery, all these things. It's so wonderful to recollect and how rich our forefathers are. Coming to the property rights, the recognition of various forms of property ownership while emphasizing social obligations and responsible stewardship. And tax also, not only the property is interest, taxing principles also these documents are having. So that gives a directions and guidelines for the balanced state, fulfilling the citizens' capacity to pay, including the provision for tax relief during the difficulties. Okay, all these things are available in our. So Dharmic economics is something we can relook at, and we can start adopt the rich literatures we have in the Indian knowledge system for the even the contemporary economic policies what we are making now. So we are having such a few policies for nowadays for the last 15 years. If you look at the government of India, they are coming with some of the policies which are literally based on our indigenous knowledge system based economic policies. So this is some glimpse about the ancient period. So then I'm getting into the middle period where that is from 600 to 1757 CE. Okay. So during this period, a lot of changes came up, and with that changes and how we evolved and how we, keep adapting our indigenous knowledge system for the economic policies and how we learn from the different rulers. Okay. So across the history, if you look at India is ruled by, a few people. So even from the different rulers, how we learned and adopted it, as a knowledge system, and how we, really developed our richness of culture and also the economic development. So, this during this period, especially, there were influence and people, Islamic and Mughal. These two people were, largely ruled India during this period. So the arrival of this Islamic rurals brought very new economic concept into the Indian economic system. So as I said, we used to learn from whoever or whether we dominate or we go as a subdue, and every time we learn from it. So we learned these things and adopted it into the indigenous knowledge system. For example, development of sophisticated currency system, banking practices, and systemized credit mechanisms. All these things we combined these Islamic financial principles with the Indian commercial practices. And coming to the trade network, and we have expanded our trade networks connecting the India with the Central Asia, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. All this is expanded during this period. So we used and utilized these rulers to expand our market, expand our network, and which is being facilitated by the Indian communities and their traditional knowledge system. With our traditional knowledge system and and our richness in the culture, we connected India with the Central Asia, Middle East, and Southeast Asia during this period. And agricultural innovations. Talking about agricultural innovation, not innovations in terms of technology, but in terms of different agricultural practices we do, and in terms of different crops we cultivate. So as people comes in and we in India, we learn from, we got to know new crops, and we started cultivating several new crops in Indian landscape. And the other one, as I said, the Mughal period. The Mughal period saw the culmination of medieval Indian economic synthesizes, especially in the revenue system. Actually, we have learned this Japti system under the Akbar's dynasty, which is incorporating our Indian traditional concepts for fair taxation with the efficient administration. And trade promotion also, the state policies encouraged the internal and external trade while maintaining traditional market regulations. And industrial development supports for traditional crafts and industries while introducing new technologies and techniques. So this is about the period from 600 to 1757 sales. Now let's see how we kept alive of our Indian knowledge system, and also how we learn from the British who ruled the colonial period from 1757 to 1947, almost 200 years we were under British. So how we kept the gel of the Indian knowledge systems and rightly incorporated into the other knowledge systems, and enriching our own Indian knowledge system ever, and making policies and making schemes out of it for the benefit of our own citizens. So I brought two things here. One is during this period, colonial period. One is disruption of a traditional system. Once this British people came into India, under their rule, they systematically dismantled our traditional Indian economic system. They, for example, they deindustrialized some of our industries. They deliberately frame policies to destroy our Indian industries and create markets for British commodities. So that's why they insisted to buy the British commodities than the Indian commodities. That is why we have freedom as part of our freedom fight. We also have a Sudesi kind of movement, and buy Indian products only movement, like that. We had a lot of other oppositions to this. Agricultural transformation. So introduction of commercial agriculture and cash crops. That was what the British period introduced this commercial agriculture and cash crops, disturbing our traditional sustainable farming system. And knowledge suppression, that is systematic suppression of traditional knowledge system and educational institution. Even now, what the education system we follow by and large is the Macaulay education system. So we were highly influenced by the Macaulay education system, and that by eroding our traditional educational institutions. So nowadays, if you look at the society and youngsters, they lack a lot of value. If you see the generation after generation, they lack a lot of values in them. So generation after generation, people are becoming intellect. In terms of intellectual, the generations becoming better. But in terms of value, whether they are becoming better, that is a very big question mark. Why I am saying this is, earlier, if you see, we had some form of Guru Shishya learning. Now, I'm not a favor of the Gurukula in a proper Gurukula system, but the Guru Shishya format is slowly going away. So, for example, when I was studying my post-graduation and undergraduation, we used to have a mentor. A teacher will be allotted as a mentor for a group of students, and he will be mentoring him, and for not only for academics but also for the personal issues as well. For example, some of the institutions still, keep that as a practice. For example, in our institution, VIT Chennai here, we have a proctor-protee system where we serve as a kind of a guardian to the students who stay at hostel and come as a day scholars as well. So what I'm trying to say is the British people, insisted, their own education system to serve for them. As they are ruling here, they to serve them, and they want the servers for them. So they made like that. So coming to the nationalist economy, the other side, the Indian intellectuals and leaders developed to address this British side, and Indian nationals, our freedom fighters came up with a new economic way of thinking, which is combining Western economic concepts. We are not completely ruling out the Western economic concepts. We are taking the advantages, we are taking the merits of the Western economic system and adopting it with the traditional economic principles. So take the movements like Swadeshi, take the economic philosophy of Gandhi, which is heavily talks about the traditional Indian knowledge system, and take the case of Dadabhai Naoroji train theory that analyzes the colonial economic exploitation by using the Western economic methods and also traditional economic concepts as a justice for this. So we learned from, and the Indian economic system really helped us to sustain with the changes in the Indian landscape. So let's see what's after post-independence. Okay, we got independence in 1947. So what is happening to the Indian knowledge system, and how this Indian knowledge system is being linked and integrated into different economic policies we come up with. So immediately after independence, what was happened is one of the core the economic planning format we introduced is 5-year plans. Okay, so these 5-year plans incorporated with several traditional economic principles. So we won't talk about it. Many of us won't talk about the elements of the Indian knowledge system in the economic policies and principles the country adopted since we got independence. For example, balanced development. I said the balanced development was taught in Arthashastra and Vedas as well. Okay, so emphasizes balanced regional and sectoral development. This 5-year plan is based on our the references given in our the ancient documents, and it also the 5-year plans comes up with the integration of a lot of social welfare policies and self-reliance. The goal of economic self-sufficiency also, that reflects our traditional values, and democratic planning. So that means the participatory planning processes in, public participation in the planning. So that also, it's a culture of the Indian society and Indian, a traditional system. And after that, the recent decades, after the 5-year plans, after that, the recent decades, we witnessed several renewed interest in the traditional knowledge system. So slowly, after some point in time, we started realizing our traditional knowledge system, particularly when it comes to the sustainability and sustainable development. The entire world now is talking about SDG goals. And, if you look at our culture and our Vedas or Puranas and any rich documents, any language of Indian languages that talks about the ecological knowledge. We have our own traditional ecological knowledge. So the sustainability is not very new to us. The world is running behind this now, but our way of living, for example, our way of living in the villages, our way of administration, everything is happened with the due concern of this ecological knowledge. Rural development, we developed rural development programs by incorporating traditional community organizations and resource management practices. So if you take our Panchayat Raj system and all, the management of common resources is being done by the panchayats or the community organizations. The alternative economic policy, we also come up with the alternative economic concepts to the Western models. So we come up with a lot of alternative economic concepts to the Western models as well. Okay, with this, just giving a quick light on how we, the history of Indian knowledge system. I like to bring some of the core principles of Indian economic knowledge system, the Indian knowledge system for economics. Dharmic economics, as I introduced earlier, the concept of dharma that forms the foundation of traditional Indian economic thought. Unlike the Western economics that often treats ethical consideration as an external to economic analysis. If you take any the Western school of economic school of thought, that is keeping this ethical part away from the economic principles. Whereas in our tradition, say the Dharmic economics integrates this moral and ethical principles into the core of economic decision making. Say here, so take the four prasarthas. Dharma, that is, economic activities must be conducted ethically and in accordance with moral principles. That's what the Dharma talks about. Artha, that legitimates the pursuit of wealth and material well-being, but always within the bounds of Dharma. Within the Dharma, we are allowed to have wealth and we are allowed to have a material well-being. And karma, that is in economic terms, we can quote it like a pleasure or a desire. So it recognizes the human desire or human pleasure as legitimate, but to the pursued responsibility. You are free to have a desire, but with a responsibility. So that is what our traditional systems insist. And moksha, that is liberation, ultimate spiritual goal that provides perspectives on material pursuits and how to go away and how to liberate, ourselves. So all these things are very much, being addressed by our Dharmic economics. The core difference, again, I would like to quote here is the Western models of economics never include the ethical and value system as part of the economic models, but our economic indigenous knowledge-based economic systems integrates these moral and ethical principles into the core of economic decision making. So this framework of these four prasadas creates a holistic approach to the economic thought process that balances material prosperity with ethical context and spiritual development. This is one of the core takeaway I want to leave it to the participants today. And the other one is cyclical economic thinking. The Indian knowledge system, we typically view economic process as a cycle rather than a linear. We see this economic process or economic thinking as a cycle, not as a linear. Many of the earlier Western economic models, to addresses this economic processes principle as a linear theories. And whereas our knowledge system, had a very good understanding that it is a cyclical process rather than a linear process. For example, temporal cycles. The concept of yugas, okay, the concept of yugas, cosmic ages, that suggests that the economic and social systems go through cycles of prosperity and decline. Okay, so it's the world cannot imagine and how rich we are in our knowledge and culture. So this requires different approaches and different times. So to we know the value system of different yugas, and we have a we have a documentation for the future yugas as well. So like that, the natural cycles, another type of cycle, natural cycle where economic activities are understood to be embedded with with the natural cyclings. For example, recurring harmony with the seasonal patterns, ecological rhythms, and resource regeneration cycles. See, if you look at the lifestyle of the Indian people, so that is well matched with the seasonal changing patterns, ecological rhythms, and the resources cycle. And coming to the social cycle, the another cycle, where our IKS, Indian knowledge system, recognizes that wealth and power are naturally circulate through the society. So wealth and power are not, linear. It is a circular and it is a cycle which requiring the institutions and practices to ensure very equal distribution over the period of time. The power is not stagnant here. The power is being, being rotated in cycle. So this is cyclical economy. To make it another takeaway here, the Indian knowledge system, we look at the economic processes and principle as a cycle process of cycle rather than the linear system. Okay. So how we apply this in the economic policies in the history and application in the historical economic principles. For example, we learned it from Mauryan Empire, especially from the Chandragupta Maurya, guided by Kautilya's principle, that implemented very comprehensive policies based on traditional knowledge system. And there were a lot of state-operated industries and services supporting private enterprises as well, reflecting the balanced economic participation, both private and public, and price controls and quality standards to prevent the exploitation for ensuring the fair returns. Infrastructure development, there were a lot of developments in terms of road, irrigation, urban infrastructure that is guided by the principles of Indian knowledge system, long-term social benefit. And then social welfare, as we mentioned earlier, all the social welfare programs are based on reflecting our karmic economic principles of collective responsibility. So Gupta period, as we learn, studied history, that is being named as a golden age of ancient India, where the governance is being decentralized. The decision making was distributed across local levels, and there were a lot of guilds were given with a significant autonomy to regulate the activities with the help of traditional economic principles. And the trade policies are also promoted with the ethical standards and social responsibilities. So cultural investment, there are a lot of resources are devoted to education, arts and cultural development for reflecting the holistic development principles. So especially Chola period, Chola time, middle level applications, Chola is the only empire sophisticated the maritime economy based on the traditional principles. The Chola ruled the entire, East and South Asia. Okay, so they came up with the naval navy, by sea-based trades, maritime trade. The Chola is a pioneer in it. So development of this naval capacities to protect and promote the trade that is actually guided by the principles of legitimate wealth acquisition. So they went for wealth acquisition, even beyond the hundreds of miles of borders of Indian nation. So then naval trade is promoted by Cholas. Temple economics. So the Chola, if you read and look at the Chola's contribution in terms of temple infrastructure creation. See, those days, nowadays, when it comes to the public expenditure, so we do a lot of infrastructure related schemes and projects. For example, this golden triangle four ways introduced. So that is a huge public expenditure project that made a very huge impact with the people of India across the region, across the segments. So that was a well distributed development. So like that in Chola's period, so they integrated the religious institutions into the economic activities. So in order through building, constructing historical nowadays, with historical nobody can think about such a gigantic temples, and the science behind the construction of temples. So this reflects the unity of our spiritual and material life. So we are integrating our spiritual and material life by integrating the religious institution into different economic activities. Agricultural innovations. See, particularly in the Cholas period, if you look at lot of dams, name any dams that is being constructed by the Cholas. After Cholas, only maybe we have constructed very few dams in India. Okay, the development of sophisticated dams represents the infrastructure for the agricultural systems. So these developments of dams and all the innovations we come up with, that created a sophisticated irrigation system and agricultural practices, which is truly based on traditional ecological knowledge. For example, if you go and see, there is a dam in Tamil Nadu, Kallanai, that is being constructed before thousands of years. Okay, so the people even now wonder the engineering of the construction. So that much traditional ecological knowledge we had with the rich traditional ecological knowledge, we were able to construct such a dams and such a infrastructure facilities and international trades. And as I told you, and this Chola is the only the empire dynasty which went across the Southeast Asia. So they built a lot of good relationship with the Southeast Asia that spread the Indian culture and economic principle. If you go any Southeast Asian countries, you can see our cultures there. We can see our temples there. Okay, this is what the Cholas contributed. So we can name this as a Chola maritime economy. So this is how we applied our traditional economic system in the policies throughout our history. So this is talks about Vijayanagara Empire. And Vijayanagara Empire, if you refer their documents and history, they have contributed mainly into the the urban constructions, urban planning. So they were known for urban planning with the application of Indian knowledge system. They were developed very much sophisticated market system which balanced the competition with the ethical contact. So it's a colonial period. Let's see, colonial period in opposition of the Britishers, we promoted Swadeshi economics. The Swadeshi economics is represented attempt to revive our traditional economic practices, and we also came up with the cooperative movement. Cooperative movement. So we developed the cooperative institutions based on our traditional principles to support each other. So support each other as we talk about the collective thinking or collective karma. So all these things, are where began for our cooperative movement thought process and educational reform. So we came up with the efforts to revive our traditional knowledge system with adapting to the modern days requirements. So the Gandhian economics, many of us are aware, that is completely based on talks about the unique economic philosophy that extensively derived from the traditional Indian knowledge system. Nothing new is being adopted by Gandhi. It is more none other than the traditional Indian knowledge system. He very well utilized it and very well converted those things into the movements. So that is the colonial period resistant. So post-independent reflections and integration. After that, after the post-independence, so in the early times, as I mentioned, the five-year planning period, and including the planners like Mahalanobis, Nehru, and Ambedkar, all incorporate the aspect of social welfare, which were actually drawn from Indian knowledge system. So that is what we call it a mixed economy. Mixed economy is nothing but the public and private combination with a very strategic state intervention. If you look at the countries which is being freed from the colonial rule in the 40s, we were the only country, very few countries went with a mixed economy model, not with a capitalist model or not with a socialist model. So we were very unique in terms of learning and in terms of keeping our own indigenous knowledge system. These five-year plans as well, reflect the goals of redistribution, rural development, and poverty alleviation, and all. And later, we came up with a lot of policies like Panchayat Raj, rural cooperatives, and a lot of land reforms, which are all rooted, historically rooted to the village self-governance and resource sharing model, which is already being, but we have references in our ancient documents. So even the green revolution and rural development policies grew and indigenous agricultural practices with the integrating modern science. Promotion of traditional crafts, MSME, when it comes to the MSME, we started promoting the traditional crafts, micro enterprises, indigenous technology, which supports the self-reliance. For example, nowadays we have Atmanirbhar Bharat. Policies on certification, quality insurance, this all ensures the preservation and modernization of heritage practices. And particularly, the earlier speaker, I was able to listen. The earlier speaker, he touched upon the national education policy. This national education policy, again, it recognizes value of the ancient Indian economic thought, which prescribes the integration of this Indian knowledge system into the curricula, policy making, and research. There were critics. I too have a few of the critics, but by and large, it gives the flexibility of learning to the younger generation. So digital transformation, sustainable development, climate resilience, all these things are increasingly informed by our traditional knowledge and ecocentric ethics. So we were able to implement better than other countries because we are rich in our traditional knowledge. For example, COVID-19. After COVID, we were able to recover, apart from this vaccine and all, and the kind of a food system, the food taking system we have, the kind of the traditional medicines we have, that also largely helped to sustain with the COVID-19. So the innovators and policymakers now we are attempting to blend our tradition with the technology to foster the social entrepreneurship and also the inclusive growth. So let's see another 5-10 minutes. Let's see what are all the challenges we will face and what is the relevance of this in the contemporary period now. So the relevance of current economic challenges, we have the problems a little bit. A lot of inequalities are there. Poverty, we have reduced a lot, but still a lot of inequalities are there. So it offers the traditional knowledge is for that. Our traditional knowledge system offers a lot of several principles like individual prosperity should contribute to the collective well-being. So that that is what even Gandhi also used to say. If nation want to grow, a village need to grow. If a village need to grow, a individual need to grow. So every individual prosperity is very important to have the collective well-being. And we need to emphasize on the basic needs for all the community members. Participatory development, as we discussed earlier, the consensus will be built in our tradition by having participation of each and every people possible. And relevance of current economic challenges coming to the environmental sustainability, as I already quoted, with our traditional rich ecological knowledge, we were able to address different the ecological principles, including integrating these ecological principles with the framework of sustainable development and the economic principles. And also, the resource conservation and regeneration after altering and integrating with the different resource use management techniques. So biodiversity protection, traditional agriculture and forestry practices that maintain biodiversity with the modern conservation strategy with our rich knowledge. So we have, I'll just skip these things. Okay. So challenges, when it comes to the challenges, we have the bureaucratic system, which may not be compatible with the traditional participatory and consensus-based approaches. And legal framework, modern legal systems may not recognize or protect traditional knowledge and practices because generation is being changed, political scenarios are being changed. So the modern legal system may not recognize and protect the traditional knowledge and practices. And educational system, modern educational system may not transmit traditional knowledge effectively to the new generation. So that is why there are though there are a lot of positivities are there with the national education system, we were not able to, get the real fruits of that in a shorter time. That is because, the model education system may not easily adopt the traditional education system and passing it on to our new generation. And social changes, this modernization is being constrained to us to with the traditional principles. And social mobility, so traditional systems always have conflict with the modern aspirations for the social mobility. See, our traditional aspiration is very different from the modern days aspiration. So that is more of material based, and whereas our Dharmic economics talks about economic principle with the ethical and value. So opportunities, so let me conclude by another 10 minutes. So opportunities for the integration of the IKS with the economic principles. We can think about different policy innovations by hybriding the models, which may combine the traditional wisdom with modern techniques and institutions. For that, we need, a lot of institutional setups in the research sphere, in the policy sphere, and in the academic sphere everywhere. And pilot programs, we may think about coming up with some of the pilot programs and test the application of traditional principles in the contemporary context. These all can be, topics for researchers as well. So PhD level researchers or project we can do, and we can come up with wonderful recommendations which can which can integrate the traditional principles. And participatory policy making, use of traditional consensus building methods in modern policy making processes. With the help of the technology nowadays available, it is very easy for us to reach to each and every one possible in the country. So how we are going to develop the participatory, more effective participatory policy making processes in the country. For example, I have a reference of Singapore, where they give they have an index like called the public value that is being calculated based on the feedbacks of people on each and every policy and scheme they introduce. So what is the public value of the scheme and policy? Okay, so that can be done with a lot of technology and innovations, what we have today. And coming to the educational side, so curriculum integration. So it is challenging for us to, but we have to do a integration of this indigenous knowledge into the modern education curricula. And research, as I said earlier, we need to document this and we need to do a lot of the applications of this into the modern economic scenario so that we will get different cases, and based on that we may get some directions for the better way of adopting, integrating this IKS with the economics principles and the teacher training. So as this Malviya National Mission on Teacher Training, so it should see this is wonderful opportunity. We were talking about indigenous knowledge system. So this kind of initiative are very much important. At least we got a chance to recollect and ignite our mind to think about and talk about and to initiate some efforts on the indigenous knowledge system. And apart from that, we also need institutional innovations that needs a community-based organizations involvement, and that needs public-private partnerships. And we also need international cooperation where we need to collaborate with the other countries and international organizations to share our experiences in applying traditional knowledge systems. So we are becoming one of the powerful nations, and we are being not. And I'm not sure where I'm very confident about using the term powerful nation, but we are most influential nation in the world now. So how we are going to collaborate with other countries and keep influencing others to applying the traditional knowledge system into the economic policies and principles, that is a real challenge as well as that is a real opportunities available in front of us. So we need to move towards a resilient, ethical, and innovative economic policy. For that, we are supposed to offer time-tested frameworks for ethical prosperity, institutional robustness, and social harmony. As we, India, move forward as a knowledge-based economy, we always a knowledge-based economy, and becoming a world leader in the sustainable development, it is these Indian knowledge traditions that is being adopted with a discriminant and scholarship that can ensure economic policies remain both rooted and resilient with Indian knowledge system. So I stop here. Thank you very much for the very keen listening. So I would like to take one or two questions or one or two comments, or you would like to add upon anything interesting, and I welcome you all. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Dr. Madhuri and the rest of the people. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Sir, could you please stop sharing your screen so that we can take the question answers? Yeah, dear participants, the forum is open for questions. You can go ahead.
Or want to talk, or you got someone can text as well, so I can read. If you are hesitant to talk, then you can text in the chat box.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my name is Dr. Gangu.
Yeah.
Sir, on second day, one resource person is spoken about food habits and a food habit like in like endogenous food system. So there he mentioned about like Indian knowledge, as well as nowadays people are changing their mindset to adapt old food methodology. Like now people are taking pizza, burger, or new things. They are eating something, but they forgot about like an old one, like how forefathers used to take all millets, all nutrition food. Now the people they understood the importance of all the things. What he mentioned, is that how we can through this Indian knowledge system, how it helped to the householders to change their food habits as well as their lifestyle, how it will help to the rural people to grow economically. Because now your topic is very close to that what he taught on second day about the food habits. Can you explain about it, sir?
Before
Yeah,
that, I
see,
request participants to please on your videos.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
See, yeah, as the other resource person mentioned, and the again how I see it because the all the like millets, organics, and we nowadays we talking about a lot of organic products, and we are talking about eating good food, especially millets and all. But apart from the advantages in it, how I see it, still we are being influenced by the corporates and the Western. Don't mind if I am wrong from the perception of the other resources or some of you here. But my perception is here. Nowadays this organic farming again, it's the hands of corporates now. No 1 acre or 2 acre holders of farmers are not doing great profits out of it. So in terms of economic perspective, and it is actually insisted by the corporates and the Western world now. And but coming to the food habits and practices, our food habits are based on our different agroclimatic regions. We have a different agroclimatic regions. Based on that, we used to cultivate and we eat. So we need to come up with a lot of a lot of initiatives to promote healthy eating, and also we need to come up with a lot of innovative policies to support even small farmers to cultivate more healthy crops into agroclimatic based millets and so on. So that's what something we should start thinking about in terms of economic policies. Yeah.
And one more important point, like when we are producing organic product, so organic product price definitely increases when you compare with other product. Now householders are comparing, they are going with cheaper, like, product. So they are not, again, not taking care of their food habits. Again, they are coming back to their price, they are comparing price, they are going with the normal product. So how we can change their mindset? Because economically, because who are depending on organic, we have to show something to grow economically, because we have to change all the system. So you are the good economist, and how you can suggest to the farmers
For
to
that,
produce
for
more
that one,
organic
yeah,
product than it.
yeah. For that only, we need to increase the supply. We need to produce more. We need to produce more so that the price will come down. The problem now is our production of with long years we were not into the production of this millets and all. See, recently only after it gets popularized, it all this millet eating and all got popularized by the MNCs only. Then people got to use it. People working at the elite jobs, then they started eating and they started posting in the social medias, I eat this and I eat that, like that. And then it is getting popularized now. To decrease the price and increase the use by the common people, we need to increase the production. And for that, we need to come up with a different set of policies. That is the only way, and we can think about distributing it into our this PDS, public distribution system, fair price shops. So if you give it in the fair price shops, 1980s, if you see, rice is a rich product. Once in a while, only people eat rice. Every day's eating habit, we had ragi. We had wheat, like that only we had those days. But after that, nowadays it's totally different. So we need to come up with we need to increase the production, and we need to come up with a healthy eating practice policies. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Nice
a good
talking to you,
question.
and
Yeah.
have a nice
Yeah.
day, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So, being an economics professor, I would like to, I like having, different scenarios and different perceptions. So that helps me to think in alignment with the policies. Okay. Okay, no
Sir,
problem.
I have a question, though I'm a course coordinator. Your
Yes,
lecture was
please.
very, very enriching, very enlightening. So, sir, could you tell us which is one of the most important research areas in economics and IKS which needs to be addressed as soon as possible?
Most one of the,
According to you, there must be many, I understand,
no.
but
Most one of the what? Most one of the,
research area, sir.
okay. So research area for nowadays, what as economics, if you ask me, being an economist, I would like to request, because I also recent times moving into the area, particular research area. Last 7 8 years I am doing in that particular area. For example, if you take engineers or if you take any science stream people, their ultimate output is the product. They'll come up with a product, prototypes. Okay, if you talk about engineering, they'll come up with a patent, the product, and they do technology transfer and all. Coming to economics, our product is policy. Economics product is policy. How your research is going to facilitate, contribute, influence the policy. If your research is not no way connected to the policy, then you are not doing a justification there. So do researches in connection with the application of the policy front. So what I'm trying to do is, for example, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, USA, they offer MSc Applied Economics, Data, Economics and Policy. So these are the same thing I would like to say to the people. Focus on the researchers which connects the data, economic theories and models and policy. So we have a huge amount of data today, big data, so many amounts of data is available today. So that is why I am particularly specializing, as you introduced me in the introduction, I am specializing in the evidence-based policy making, data-driven policy making. So, connect not just data-driven policy making, any research you do, connect economics, data, economic principles, data, and try to come up with a policy support, policy solutions, or policy evaluation, and so on. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? If you are not having questions, we will move towards the vote of thanks. Please continue with the vote of thanks.
Yes, roll number 19.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I would like to extend my.
Please on your video, roll number 19.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Satish Kumar sir for sharing his invaluable insights and expertise with us on topic the role of Indian knowledge system in shaping economic policies, a historical perspective. Sir explained very nicely and in a lucid language the historical evolution of IKS and economics. He put a light on adaptation and developments occurred during pre and post independence period by quoting several references. Sir also explained core principles, application in historical economic policies, again in the pre and post independence period. Sir also addresses the current economic challenges, opportunities, and educational reforms. Sir, your presence and contributions have enriched our understanding of economics, sustainability, and social development. I would also like to thank the organizers for bringing us together and providing a platform for meaningful discussions and knowledge sharing to everyone who participated and engaged in this event. Thank you for your active involvement and engineering. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great pleasure and an honor too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
MMTTC coordinators, Gaurav sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
We
you.
still have, I think, 10 minutes left. So I will be leaving the forum, but you can engage the participants about
Okay,
tomorrow's
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can streamline tomorrow's lectures. Thank you so much. And I request everybody to please on your videos whenever necessary, because the resource persons, they're just seeing the screens. So whenever needed, you'll please on the videos. It looks a bit lively.
Yes, ma'am.
Because some of the participants, absolutely, they are not on the videos and it doesn't look good. And I cannot tell anything in front of the speakers, right? It doesn't look good. Sometimes they need to click some pictures for their media or something like that. So over to you, the coordinators of MMTTC. Gaurav sir, thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. पार्टिसिपेंट को सूचना है कि जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में एक हमने शेयर किया है कि आपका यूनिवर्सिटी का जो आपका नाम, आपका यूनिवर्सिटी का नेम, कॉलेज नेम, आप वह चेक करके आपको आपका ओके होगा तो आप क्या कीजिए, ग्रुप में एक बार सेंड कर दीजिए कि आपका ओके करके, क्योंकि जैसे जो आप उसमें कनेक्शन करेंगे वही इस हिसाब से आपका ही सर्टिफिकेट उस टाइप में ही बनेगा। नाम, आपका कॉलेज नेम, इनका यूनिवर्सिटी बाद में उसमें चेंज नहीं होगा। काइंडली अपडेट फॉर द ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट।
ओके सर।
ऑलरेडी हमने लिस्ट ऑलरेडी हमने शेयर किया है, एक बार आप चेक कीजिए, क्योंकि अभी जो फाइनल लिस्ट रहेगा उसके हिसाब से ही आपका सर्टिफिकेट तैयार होगा। तो अभी आप चेक कीजिए, बाद में फिर उसमें चेंजिंग नहीं होगा। काइंडली चेक द यूनिवर्सिटी लिस्ट। हाँ, ओके, थैंक यू।
ओके सर।
सर कल बायोडाटा रीडिंग का शेड्यूल क्या रहेगा?
हाँ, वो डाल देंगे, वो रोल नंबर 1 बताएंगे किसका रहेगा।
ओके सर।